few days away from Georgia's spring game now, and I'm looking at some numbers from last year's spring game, looking at who was doing well around this time last year. I think that a couple Bulldogs, if they are the ones that have a breakout year, Georgia's going to take even another step forward. This offense will take another step forward, right? I've come on here and I've been a pretty big proponent of, hey, look, this Georgia offense has been really good for years now, right? And look, let's just look at the 2020s because Georgia's owned this decade so far in college football. A lot of conversations this week among the Dawg Post crew about history of college football. Well, the most recent history is the 2020s and Georgia's dominating it. But this offense has been really good, and the narrative is always that Georgia's defense is really good. And yes, it is, and especially when you have a lot of defensive-minded coaches and a defensive genius in Kirby Smart, a head coach, it's easy to do that. But you flip it around with the other side, Georgia's offense has been phenomenal over the last few years, and I think it's getting a little bit better too, and they're starting to shift a little bit more to a pass-happy offense. You look at these spring games, and Georgia's offense, they throw the ball a lot, right? You don't run the ball as much in them. Will that be the case this year? I think they'll definitely want to rope in Trevor Etienne and let him make some plays against this Georgia defense. But when you look at the box scores and everything, emphasis on passing, emphasis on getting those quarterbacks to have real game reps against defenses, and that's kind of how that works. Obviously, there'll be non-contact reps, but you go through and you look, and they're going to throw the ball a lot. So is Arian Smith going to break out? Hasn't happened yet. He's had some big-time breakout moments for Georgia, but a breakout hasn't happened. And it kind of feels like I want to be very open-minded. I want to be very level-headed with this Arian Smith conversation because it kind of feels like we've had it before in 2023 and in 2022 and 2021. Speed kills in sports and some other stuff, but it's something that you can't teach, and he has it, and he has it more than anybody else on this football team, and he has it more than almost anybody else in college football and just football in general. The dude can fly, and when he gets the ball in his hands, it can be a touchdown, and if you can get the ball over the top to him, it can be a touchdown. A year ago in Georgia's spring game, he had 2 touchdowns, right? Rushing and receiving, and they showed that he was going to be an important part of Georgia's offense. And then, he's never super healthy. He's gotten healthier over the last couple of years. Well, in 2023, his senior year of football, 8 catches, 153 yards, and 2 touchdowns. It's the most catches he had, compared to 7 the year before, compared to 3 the year before, compared to 2 the year before. He has 20 catches. 20 catches in 4 years. He's getting 5 a year. So is it going to be a tease with this spring? Because what's been the insider perspective this offseason? My perspective, right? I've been going and seeing a little bit of practice. They don't show us that much. But my perspective is, man, Arian Smith, he's looking good. Arian Smith is burning these corners. Arian Smith, oh man, him and Carson Beck, they're connecting on the deep ball. They're scoring touchdowns. We got an insider report from the original scrimmage. Arian Smith is just taking these back to the house. He's just taking these touchdowns to the house. Well, it hasn't happened. It hasn't been happening in the games, and there's a reason for that. But it was the same thing last offseason, the offseason before that with Arian Smith. There was all this chitter-chatter that he was going to be this huge part of the offense. So another portion that I guess is against Arian Smith in terms of, hey, he's going to be the guy. Well, when you look at how Georgia's been running this spring, especially in what they let people see, because they try to make it as secretive as possible, the older guys that have been around, and whether you're just straight up older or you just have been in the program longer, the players that know the program and know how things go and have been in it, they run first team reps. And so Arian Smith gets that. Maybe this time it's a little bit less of a facade and more of the truth because We are talking about year 5 now, and 5 years of Carson Beck throwing the football to him. Because they would have been together for 5 years. That 2020 class had a lot of really important players in it. Beck and Arian Smith being two of them, and they have been playing together for a long time, and you see that chemistry. So is he going to break out? Because if he does, if you just add three more touchdowns, maybe even just 10 more catches, right? A couple more deep catches. We're talking about Arian Smith being a weapon that you feature a little bit more throughout the year, and you don't just see him get a couple deep balls thrown to him. But some of it is on Arian, some of it is on health and that portion of it, and that's not 100% in his control. And some of it has been on the quarterbacks and more recently Carson Beck. But his breakout hasn't really happened, and it seems like it's going to this year, but it seemed like it's going to in the past. So I just wanted to have a really real conversation about that. But yes, Arian Smith's development, Arian Smith taking a step forward, makes Georgia better. Ryan Curley from Dawg Post here. I usually stop a little bit earlier in the video to sit and talk about Dawg Post and myself, but got a little bit carried away with that one. Make sure you're checking out our newsletter, linking it down below. It's gonna be a long off season, but you're gonna want your Georgia Bulldogs entertainment. You're gonna want your Georgia Bulldogs news, and Dawg Post is who can give that to you, and it makes it easier for you to keep up with what's going on if you're signed up for the Dawg Post newsletter, which is free to do. All you gotta do is click on the link down below, type in your email, and all of a sudden we're in your inbox and we're telling you, yo, this is what happened. Hey, Arian Smith just had a touch. He just had a huge game. Georgia wins this game, right? So it's that kind of thing that you get out of the Dawg Post newsletter. I don't think necessarily that it has to be one guy, but if a running back just looks better than all the other ones and starts really breaking out, Georgia's season changed in the end. In the second half, Georgia looked even stronger than they did in the first half. Well, Carson Beck was better. That's one. Georgia got a little healthier. That's two, a little bit. Georgia struggled with health a lot last season. Number 3 was Kendall Milton balling out. All right, part of why Georgia's offense looked better. The run game got better. They were having breakaway runs. They were starting to implement that into their portion of the game. Didn't do that as well against Alabama. Didn't do a lot of things well against Alabama. It's just what happened. They lost the game. But if a running back can step up as a freak or as a real impact player, Roderick Robinson's been the name that's been thrown out there this offseason for that kind of title. This is going to be the breakout guy. I do think if Branson Robinson is healthy, right, he's supposed to be cleared here in the next few weeks for everything, I suppose. We didn't really get specific details about exactly what he's getting cleared for, but things are supposed to lighten up for him over the next few weeks here after spring football concludes. Is it going to be Branson that kind of returns to form? Is it going to take a long time to return to form? We can see that happen. It could be Trevor Etienne, and that's why they brought him over here, and he's just this lead back. But Georgia's offense would definitely change if there was a breakout running back, right? So I talked about a breakout receiver, talking about a breakout running back, because guess what? On offense, those are the two positions that there are concern about. I air quoted that if you are not looking or you can't see it. Of concern, right? That it's not I'm not saying that with a lot of depth to it because you don't really concern yourself with a lot of Georgia football's team, but that quarterback, you don't. Carson Beck, the offensive line, you really don't. And I think Georgia's got plenty of tight ends, especially when Benjamin Urasek comes over from Stanford and when he's allowed to be with the team and all of that. On defense, and I'm not talking about the defense as much in this video, but on defense, it's a superstar in the front seven. It is, because they've got a superstar in the secondary in Malachi Starks. I do wonder, are they going to take a step back because of how much production they lost? But you look over and they're very good at plugging and playing and reloading the talent in the defensive back room. Whether it is the highest event talent or not, they get that production. But is there going to be someone in the front seven that's just levels above, right? Is there a Nakobe Dean, a Jalen Carter, a Jarvis Jones, somebody going to step up? Is it going to be Michael Williams, and that's why they're experimenting with him standing up and playing some more traditional outside linebacker instead of just that kind of end down lineman defensive end role? that might change. So you kind of look at those few players, but those are the types of players you think. You need a star running back. You want a burner like Arian Smith. You want someone in the front seven that's getting 10-plus sacks or is just an absolute disruptor. Those are the things that would change this Georgia football team because it's got everything it needs pretty much, right? And that's why it's ranked number one, and that's why Kirby's ranked number one. The standard is contending for a national championship. What will make sure they win one? I think if those things happen, Georgia's got a third ring in 4 years. Thanks for watching.